around. You owe me a free load of gravel now.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this new episode of Inside NHSTRA. I'm your host, Mark Beaudry, and we have a bunch of cool people in the room today. We got Josh Vanada, Matt Kimball, and Stan Mertz. What's going on, guys?
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm excited because, first off, let's start by saying JDV Experience, guys, right here. Check it out. Josh has announced some really, really cool stuff that's going to be hitting the New England area with modified racing and racing in general. But to be honest with you, I don't know much about you, Josh. So I want to know, how did you get to where you are right now?
Yeah, a lot of twists and turns, I think. But I grew up at Seekonk Speedway, or 20 minutes away from Seekonk Speedway, and my dad raced at Seekonk. So I was there as a kid, and we'd go and I'd play with my Matchbox cars in the dirt in the same seats on the backstretch that they have there, obviously now with their stadium style seating. So we kind of gotten the itch from there. My dad would take my brother and I to different events. I distinctly remember going to Thompson for a World Series and being introduced to the modifieds. And I just thought they were really badass race cars. The noise and the just the way they looked, I thought it was pretty exceptional. So, fast forward in time, and I try racing. My brother races at Sugar Hill Speedway. I tried as well, and I just hated it. I hated the feeling of, frankly, being out of control, and like some guy next to you could wreck your day. And I mean, these guys know. I hated all that stuff. Just didn't suit my personality very well. So there was an opportunity for me to join the officiating team at Seekonk, which got me onto kind of this side of the business. And then through time, Stan and I met actually when I was with the Pro 4s, and I worked with some other touring series. I was with MRS when they were up and coming. And then the opportunity came for me to go manage Thompson. And that was a really cool, the decision-making philosophy at Thompson was simple. It was like, okay, if you're on your deathbed, do you want to say you passed up the opportunity to run the first paved oval and the first purpose-built road course in the U.S.? Answer, of course, is no.
Right.
So did that, and we had a tremendous run. The team there, while I was there, we won Outstanding Short Track Event of the Year in 2017 for the World Series, which was everybody was really deserving of that. My team, the race teams that participated in it, the sanctioning bodies that were a part of it, was really cool. And then I took a short break when I left Thompson and got back into it a couple of years ago. So that's kind of my story.
That's when you began therapy, wasn't it?
Well, we were just saying before we went on. I mean, it wasn't cool to go to therapy when I was young. So I got involved in stock car racing, and here we are. 30 years later.
We have a cool thing that we have here tonight. We have a driver, we have a promoter, and we have a car owner who used to be a driver as well. Mm-hmm. Stan, give us the 2-minute countdown of who Stan Mertz is. How did you get involved in racing?
It was a family thing. I mean, like a lot of people, it was a family thing. I grew up in Greenbush, Maine, and see how many people online know where Greenbush, Maine is.
I was actually going to look up on my phone because I've never heard of that.
You've heard of Speedway 95?
Yes.
Well, we were one of the families that went to Speedway 95, and God forbid anybody sat in our section of the bleachers.
It was just like church.
Exactly. Everybody had their own spot. Well, that spot right there was, if anybody sat there, they got booted out. And so, I went racing at Speedway 95 and then actually got out of it for 20 years. Let the kids grow up because I couldn't afford to go racing. I had the kids.
Right.
And then slowly still had that itch to race, and bought a Seekonk sport truck and ran that for a year, and then found these Pro 4 modifieds, got a chance to drive one time. First time was at Seekonk. Scared the living out of me because we went from, in the trucks, I think we were running 18-second laps at Seekonk to 12-second laps. But then it was one where slowly moved up and went to the Pro 4s. We built a brand new car, ran that, won 2 limited division championships as a driver. Had fun. Became the business manager for the series for a while. And then still always, I've been a modified fan for a lot of years. And always wanted to have that opportunity to drive. I call it the big mods because I started out in the smaller mods. And it was one where I hooked up with Norm Perry, and we ended up, I leased the team from him for a year. And Brad LaFontaine at Northeast was always saying, hey, build a new car. So finally I went to him and said, build me a brand new turnkey car and we'll go racing at Thompson. So we built that specifically for Thompson. And that was about the same time that you ran, I think you took over.
Yeah, it was. And then you...
Who took over after you?
Terry.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And that's all I'll say. But yeah. So yeah, it was about the same time that you were running it, that we came over I was driving. I did well. It took a lot more finesse than it did with when I drove late models and things like that. But then, like anybody, you reach a certain level of talent. I topped out on my talent, and
I reached that when I started racing as soon as I strapped into the car.
Yeah.
That was the extent of my talent that I had. So
The thing Stan did, though, was he acknowledged that. And what happens next in the story is amazing.
I can't wait to hear this.
well, it was basically I was driving in a race, and I was doing well. I think I was in the top 5, and was saying to myself, this isn't fun. When you can literally be at Thompson driving and have that thought of going, this isn't fun anymore. At that race, I stepped out at the end of the race. I stepped out and said, I'm done driving. And I hired Max Zackham for finish out the season for me. Because remember, I had just built a brand new car.
Oh, yeah.
I was driving with my wallet more than with the urge to drive. And because then I realized how much it cost to build these things. And it was one where I just, Max and I finished out the season. He did well for me. We were talking about going there. And at the year before, I had first hooked up with Woody Pitcat. And the very first tri-track race, because I did a lot with Norm Perry. So we went and we were part of, working with the racing guys and everything. And I called him up one day, said, hey, the only thing that you know about me is you waved to me when you lapped me in the race at Thompson. And I said, grab your bag, come up, and I want you to run my car. And that's when we first started to go and race together. We had fun in the first tri-track season. And at the end of the season when I decided to get out, Woody became available. Jimmy Page had said, hey, I'm going to go dirt racing or something like that. And Woody became available. And I said, hey, why don't you come drive for me and we'll run the SKs or Thompson.
Sunoco Modified.
Sunoco Modifieds, yes. Yes, he loved it when I called them SKs. Many times. And first year together, we won the NASCAR track championship at Thompson Speedway.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, and at that time, that was my first foray as being truly just a car owner. And you think that you hit your peak right there. It's like, shit, what do I do now?
Yeah.
After that.
That was an awesome championship. That was the first year we were Mohegan Sun.
Yeah.
And that was something else.
Yeah.
Carr was in the hall with us and everything.
What was that Mohegan Sun?
The banquet.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was,
wow, you guys do it right down there.
Yeah, we did. It was a really cool banquet.
Well, from a car owner perspective, we won the championship. He says, "Oh well, we're going to have the cars displayed at Mohegan Sun and everything." I'm like, "Oh," and I've always run I try to keep it a nice looking car, so that meant a whole new body.
Oh.
And fixing everything so that it looked brand new. And so winning that championship and shows how naive I was as a car owner. I had no idea that there was a purse that you got from NASCAR.
Yeah.
Woody told me that when we won the championship. He goes, "Oh, what are you going to do with the purse?" "What purse?"
You really didn't know?
Honest to God, I really did not know. I had no idea. Because
He was running more competitively than he really ever had.
Yeah.
And it was exceptional, but that was a fun party.
yeah, we had a great time, and then to be able to go to in Charlotte, go down there for the banquet down there, that was amazing. So here I had already peaked, and then Woody and I stayed together all the way up to this past season, basically. When he ran for Dunleavy.
Yeah, and you guys moved on to open racing and have done. You've done really well in that. And, so well respected throughout the open community. Stan and I have had some, incredibly interesting conversations over the years. But and always shoots straight. No question about that.
Yeah, that's. I guess a lot of people just don't know kind of who I am. The little guy. I got one car.
Yeah. But, it was exceptional. I think we actually called you guys the little engine that could that year at the banquet or something like that. I don't know if you loved that, but it was appropriate.
We're low butt guys.
And now you're graduating up to the Wheel and Modified Tour as a car owner.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, the reason why is this is it for me. This is my last season.
Question for you. You go out there and light the world on fire this year. Are you still going to hang it up?
I'm done.
Wow. Okay. I was curious. I was wondering maybe you go out there and you win 3 or 4 races that you might go, maybe one more.
No.
Stan is not like some of the quarterbacks in the National Football League who can't just say, enough after they win a Super Bowl. I think if you go out and win the Wheel and Gray State Short Track Cup, you would just feel so fulfilled that you wouldn't even imagine it.
Well, that's the thing. We've won races. We went to the North-South Shootout, won the SK North-South Shootout down there. We've won at just about every track in New England.
How many races did you win as a driver?
Not that many.
But you did.
We won in our division. The way that the Pro 4s were, we ran 2 divisions within one.
Once you got up into the mods as a car owner, how many races do you think you've won as a team?
As a team, I think we're upwards of probably 8.
All right, so now listening to what you say, you're the little engine that could. Here's what I like, because I follow you on social media. And if you guys are not, make sure you go punch up Stan Mertz Racing, at least for the end of this season, because he's hanging it up, he said. Also follow JDV and Matt Kimball Racing as well while you're online. But it looks like you work on the car like in a very small shop. Yeah. And it looks like you do a lot of this stuff yourself. So me outside looking in, like you're the team I'm pulling for because you're the team that's most relative to what I am in. You see some of these big high money teams, and you see the pictures. They got 5 or 6 cars lined up.
I see those. I see the pictures of all these guys' shops, and I'm literally in a 15 by 30 building that used to be. It's in Grafton, Mass. It used to be the old firehouse back when the fire trucks were like what they deliver oil in now. That's
crazy to me. And you've went on to win some really big titles over the years.
It's all about preparation. It's all about, Noam Perry, surrounding myself with people like, I had Noam Perry as my crew chief for a lot of years. When we moved up to the open shows, I was very lucky to have Mark Giordano come on as my crew chief. Man, talk about a guy that knows so much, but once again, nobody really knows his background. It's like you hear all about all these other crew chiefs and stuff, but man, there isn't a race that I wouldn't go to if Mark wasn't there with me.
All right, so I'm going to move on from you real quick. I'm going to come back because I have more stuff from you that I'm curious about. Mr. Kimball over here, what's going on, buddy? What are these cans that are sitting ever so slightly on the table? What's going on with those?
Well, this is my sponsor, Post and Beam Brewing. They're out of Peterborough, right on 40 Grove Street. They hopped on board last year, and they're hopping on board again this year. We had a fundraiser there in October of last year before the Seekonk race. And, yeah, we're excited to have them again this year. It's great tasting beer. I love it, and you guys should check it out for sure.
So what are they going to be sponsoring?
Yeah, what are they sponsoring? Do we know?
So my family bought a new tour car for this year. It's an LFR. We have a short schedule at the moment, but we are in full preparation mode to get ready for New Smyrna, Florida in February. And from there, we're going to play it by year. We're going to obviously support Josh and do all his events and go for the Granite State Cup, of course, and go to Loudon in July and definitely knock that off the bucket list. That's been something we've always thought about doing for a while, so that's our plan at the moment.
So people that don't know Matt Kimball, give us the quick Stan Mertz version of you, because your family is involved in racing through and through, including right to your side over here as your former car owner. Give us a quick rundown of who you are.
Before you do that, though, I have to just say, and I wrote this in my end of year letter, one of the proudest moments for me last year was watching the people at Monadnock Speedway come to their feet when you were introduced on the outside pole.
That made my day too.
And that is everything about why I do what I do.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot.
And knowing that you're coming back and you're going to get a chance to race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway and things like that. You deserve that.
Yeah, thanks.
And I'm really happy for you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
But
it's exciting when you see, not to step on your feet here real quick, but kind of what you've done with the whole Granite State Cup, and you start seeing these guys that weren't running the tour. You know, you have Matt, you have Roby, you have Steve Dickey, people that Stan Mertz, these people that weren't running these races who are local and now put their foot into the water to run some of this wheeling stuff. It's great because it's getting them national exposure now, and I don't think we would have had that 2 years ago.
Well, I want to let Matt tell his story, but I think the Wheeling Granite State Short Track Cup was, when we drew that up, our thought was if we could get one or two teams that would see some value in what we were doing and entice them to come and run the tour, and it made it a little bit more accessible, or at least it seemed a little more accessible than it already was. That was our goal. Well, when we closed the books on 2022 and we had 5 teams that came in who participated because of the fact that it came in, and we crowned Matt Hirschman as the champion of that 3-race miniseries, and he says in his interview that I really would not have supported the tour as much as I did this year if it wasn't for this. We knew we had something that was really special, and you know, I think, and Stan could speak to this as well, I think we probably took this a little bit for granted when we were in Connecticut, because this is just kind of what happened. Like, somebody came from an SK modified or a Sunoco modified at Thompson, and then they race an MRS race maybe at the World Series, and then eventually they'll make a tour start.
Well, I mean, that's a lot of kind of how I progressed on and got into the open modifieds. I mean, we ran strictly the Sunoco modifieds at Thompson.
There's a story here I'm going to get off the air after.
I think the point of the whole thing that was interesting was I think we took that for granted because it was so natural to what was happening in Connecticut. And I think that what we're trying to do in 23 we've got some NHSTRA mod 80 lappers that I'm going to do. We've got 2 open modified races. We're going to do one at Claremont and one at Monadnock. And then our 4 tour races is we're really trying to make the modified tour accessible because it is.
It really is. And it's seeing the car counts that I know your open mod events are going to be a success because you do run a tight ship, and it's a show that you like to see because it's run smoothly. It's just amazing action out on the track. I also want to go ahead and say anybody who shares this is going to get put into the pot I got a bunch of Kimball swag that I stole from their car when they came in. So anybody who shares this is going to get a chance at winning some Kimball swag, and I also have some JDV stuff too. But I want to get back into Matt real quick and how you even got involved in racing. And I know you've told this story on the show before, but
sorry.
I'm curious. Actually, I want to give something away while you're telling the story. If I can get anybody in chat who can tell me how many overall wins does Matthew Kimball have in his racing career combined, I'm going to get you this shirt right here that says Matthew Kimball Racing. So I'm going to be watching the chat. So let's go ahead and get those numbers coming in. And go ahead, Matt, and tell us about your racing.
Yep. So just like, obviously it's a family thing, just like everybody. But how Josh was saying earlier, how you said something about Sugar Hill Speedway.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I started in 2009. It was me and 3 other karts racing. That's when my dad started, when it was dirt, and then obviously mine was on asphalt. But then they shut down in 2009. So then from 2010 to 2012, I raced at Twin State Speedway at the time on the go-karts. And then I kind of outgrew it. And when I was 11, I moved up to the new division at Vanada, which was the Young Guns, and just kept working my way up the ranks. Went to mini stocks. I won a few championships there. And then in 2017, I moved up to modifieds in the Sportsman modifieds at Monadnock, and we got our rookie year. We got Rookie of the Year, and we finished second to Todd Patnode in points. And then we kept going on and off with mini stocks and modifieds, and then we won a championship on the mini stock tour, and then we started just focusing on modifieds. And then in 2020, we bought a tour type modified from Todd Patnode. And we raced that for a few years, and then now this year we bought a wheel modified tour car.
Were you racing the mini stock tour car when I was at Thompson? Was that your
Maybe.
championship year? What year was it?
2019.
No.
We got a lot of people very, very close in chat. And we have a bunch of people this is Matthew Kimball. Matthew Kimball has more than 14 wins. And your mom has no idea, she says, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. So now you said racing was a family thing for you. Explain that a little bit more, because I didn't know this about you when I first met you, that your dad was a modified champion multi-time. Like, don't gloss over that. Give us some of your pedigree here.
Well, my dad started in strictly stocks back when they were strictly stocks, when there was 60, 70 cars out there. And then he worked his way up too. He raced pro stocks with I call them legends now, like Jeff Seidema, Russ Hersey, Rob Goodenough, Then after that, he actually got away from racing for a while, and my cousin was into it, helped him out for a while. And then Monadnock Speedway got a new division called the Sportsman Modifieds in 2010. My dad started racing in 2010 again with my uncle as a car owner. And he won the championship the first year. He won it again the second year. He got second the year after that, won it again in 2013. And then at the end of the day, he won 5 track championships and 3 state championships. And then
that's a lot.
Then in 2017, he stopped racing and kind of let me take over.
Now, I think before you're done, you'll surpass some of your dad's records.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, I have no doubt about it.
Yep.
Seeing your dad by your side in the pits, even when you were with the Apex car and all of that stuff, seeing your dad by your side and just watching him, he puts his game face on.
Yep.
And he's just all about you, all about that car, and it's great to see.
Yeah, his heart's 100% into it. I wouldn't be anywhere without him. I mean, he does all the maintenance. He does everything. He doesn't he's one of those guys that doesn't want anybody to touch the car other than him, because if something breaks, he wants to blame himself. He doesn't want to rely on anyone else. And it's crazy what he does. And I'm thankful for everything he's done with business and racing and just everything.
So now I have a question. You have 2 tour cars.
Yeah, I've tried to talk to
Okay.
him.
He knows. Okay, he knew exactly what was going to, because the old man must miss it. Like, he has to.
You'd think so, but he likes something to do and just working on them. He has no interest in racing them. Really, I mean, he's raced a few crate races, and then, you know, he'll wreck it or something, like he'll rip the nose off, and he's like, "This is exactly why I stay right on the radio." So
This is now
That's one
three
of the reasons
people.
why I stopped racing.
So we have Stan, we have your dad, and Ernie Boudreaux, who raced for 30-something years.
Yeah.
I asked Ernie on the show last week, do you miss it? And he goes, nope, not
Yeah.
one bit. I have zero interest in getting in a car. I have zero interest in racing ever again. But he wants to be around the sport. So it's weird because you get outside looking in. Somebody just guessed like super, super close too, by the way. You guys are guessing all around the number. So like the only number you haven't guessed is the one. And you've guessed almost every other one in that number range, by the way. But it's cool to see because how many championships did you have in the Mini?
2.
And you have the modified at multiple tracks.
Yeah.
So you're already picking these off the list, you know, towards your dad. I mean, what is your ultimate goal? Where would you like to be in 5 years? Where do you see yourself?
Just honestly, like, my goal as a kid, you know, like growing up, I always
We
went
have
to
a winner, by
Loudoun.
the way.
Yeah.
We do have a winner. Michael Griggs just won.
Yeah.
So Mike Griggs, I'll send you out a shirt.
And what did Griggsy guess?
He guessed 55 wins.
Outstanding. Good for you.
Thank you.
So I didn't mean to cut you off, but if I didn't announce it right then, somebody else would have guessed, and it would have been, oh, but I guessed it too.
Yeah.
So writing that down, we'll get you a shirt out to you.
So honestly, a goal I had when I was a kid is I wanted to race on the wheel and modified tour at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. You know, just being there as a kid and watching it every weekend, it's just something you always wanted to do. And I mean, you know, one of my goals was to make it to Charlotte and, you know, for the banquet to win a state championship or a track championship. And of course, when I did, they stopped doing it. It was because of COVID or something. They didn't do the banquet. So I was like, all right. And then now we're kind of working our way out of weekly racing. We're starting to get into the tour stuff. So I guess my main goal is really just to have good runs and just to learn a lot. Because we are a very small team. Like right now we're bouncing between garages because the garage that we're in, we have a bunch of storage in it for winter. So it was at our buddy's garage. Now it's getting wrapped. Now it's going to our other friend's garage, and we're trying to get ready for New Smyrna. So we're a really small team with, you know, we have a lot of knowledge, but we're still learning a lot. So I guess my point is my goal is just to have fun and just to have good runs. And if we can get a few top 5 finishes with the wheel and modified tour this year, that would be outstanding.
I absolutely love seeing you in the pits because you turn your game face on. Like I've come up to try to talk to you, like, and I've had your brother cut like after the race, talk to him after the race. And there's nobody, I'll tell you, you can get more information out of the FBI than you can get out of the Kimball family because when I'm setting this up with Matt, like I was like, so I said to his brother, like, so give me the details. He's like, you'll find out Monday night. I'm like, well, where's this car come from? You'll find out Monday night. I was like, come on, dude. Like, I'm not going to tell anybody. And he's like, watch the show. I'm like, you're coming on my show.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the question for Josh. Josh, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see JDV going? What is your next step? What is your dream to see happen?
I think we're living our dream.
You 100% are, but
Yeah, I think
from what I figured out about you, complacency is not enough. Like you have a step you always have another step. There is no top of the steps for you. I've figured this out about you enough already.
Yeah, you know, I think we're doing it though. I really do. And one thing I've learned through doing this is the opportunities just emerge when you keep doing the right things. You know, Stan and I heckle each other a lot because you know, when I decided I wanted to potentially do the JDV Open Modifieds, I called him and said, all right, walk me through some of this stuff. Help me understand. Here's where my head's at. And he gave me some really good insights which were the exact opposite of what I probably would have done on my own. And the reason I shared...
By the way, the same insight that I gave you probably a few years ago when we were sitting in Charlotte.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you didn't listen.
That's okay. I mean, you're always right, Stan. I know. Exactly.
I love this.
So
the history you can tell between you guys is wonderful, especially from the outside looking in. You can just tell all of the inside jokes you guys have.
Yeah, I think, it's best said with Stan and I is that we both want to see the sport alive and well.
We're both very passionate about the sport.
We've just got different approaches because we're coming at it from different angles. Stan's done some promoting, as he'll remind me every opportunity he gets. But he's primarily been a competitor or a car owner. And so the reason I share that is, Stan gives some valuable feedback, and there are others. When you see me at an event, I'm never standing still. I'm always walking around talking to people, and that's where I learn the most. So I'm really passionate about modified racing. I think everybody knows that. I think they are the most badass race cars on the planet. I think 100%. It's an incredibly loyal community of people who simultaneously will rip each other's heads off, but somebody from outside the community better not come after one of us, because that same person who is about to rip your head off will be the first one to be there shoulder to shoulder with you when something's going on. And I like that. And I think that it's an honor, frankly, and a privilege to promote races for NASCAR's oldest division. 75 years ago, the first division after NASCAR incorporated itself to race on the beach were the modifieds.
How did that happen, by the way?
I wasn't there.
No. The JDV promoting wheel and mod events. How did that happen?
It's interesting. So I did an open modified race 4 years ago-ish, and I don't think it went as well as I would have liked it to, but I think I did things in reverse order. If I had to do it all over again, I would have done my wheel and modified tour races first, and done this. So, I've always been passionate about the tour, and I think, I was talking with NASCAR the other day. I think I'm of people who are alive, I think I've promoted the most modified tour races currently. I've got over 30 that I've done from my time back at Thompson and the stuff I've done on my own. And I think that it is the pinnacle of modified racing. And I think that you've got two guys here who are stepping up to the pinnacle of modified racing. So I only have one way of doing things, as you've observed. And if I'm going to promote races, then I want to promote the best.
Absolutely. Now, you are up to 4 wheel and mod events. Is there any thinking about maybe trying to get a couple more in the future?
If the right opportunity came along, we would do something. But we're really happy with 4. The tour is very healthy with 19 races. So, we're happy to do what we're doing and do the open modified stuff because, as I said, I think it creates a really good progression from the NHSTRA mods up to the open mods and then to the modified tour.
Now, I want to real quickly get back to Max. I have a question in chat. Do you miss running the mini stocks at all? Is there a time that you miss it?
No, not really. I think that brought, I guess, my experience because I ran all the different tracks, and it made me adapt to the tracks faster. But no, I modifieds, man.
All right, so for a time you were running.
So here's what I have to know. I'm a promoter. Okay, I have to know this. If I was able to find you a quality mini stock, would you race in it at one of my races?
No, probably not. I just got to focus on the tour mod.
Fair enough.
Got to keep the head on that.
The funny thing is the very last race that I ever ran was where I started. I hooked up with Bob Guptill, and
I remember this.
I ran in one of his mini stock tour events at Speedway 95, and that was the last race car that I've ever raced. I've had so many people go, "Oh, don't you miss it?" No, not one bit.
What an appropriate finish, though.
Oh, yeah.
Right back at your home racetrack.
I came full circle. And so that was what kind of completed it for me as a driver of where I started. I finished my career as a driver.
All right, so I'm going to get back to you in a second, Stan. So, Matt, I have this hat over here that says J&M Towing and Recovery that we're going to give away to one of the people that share this podcast. So who is J&M Towing and Recovery? I'm just curious.
So they're a new business that came on with us this year. That's our main sponsor. We're probably going to call the car, the J&M Towing and Recovery number 43, and that's another new thing.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Whoa, that just flew under the radar.
Yeah. We're number 43 this year because obviously Ronnie Williams is number 50. I was going to keep the 11 going, but they were still up in the air about if the 11 was available. So I was like, oh, well, my dad got me into this, so might as well keep his number going. But anyway,
I like
J&M
this. I like how that we just find out about that now randomly.
So J&M Towing Recovery, they're out of Ware. It's a family-run business. Basically, they're all local. You can get them out of Bradford, Concord, New Boston, just anywhere out of there for all your recovery or towing needs.
So like I said, this hat's going to be going to one of you lucky people that share this podcast.
So Stan and I were talking before you got here, Matt, and he is excellent at, attracting sponsors. It sounds like you have done something really similar. So I'd just like to ask both of you guys, how integral for teams who are, the little engines that could, right? That say, hey, one day I want to race on the modified tour and you're doing it. How integral is that support from your sponsors in being able to get you guys up to the highest level of modified racing?
Oh, let me tell you, I couldn't do it if I didn't have the sponsors that I've got. I mean, you look at my car, it's plastered with logos all over it. And each one of those sponsors is extremely important to getting us to the track. I'm lucky I've got a good job that I can, pretty much my off season I cover out of my biggest sponsor, Stan Mertz. That's usually out of my pocket, but the operating expenses throughout the entire season are, I try to have it that's covered by my sponsors. And, I see so many people that are, hey, I'll put your name on the car. Those days are gone. It's all about what you're doing to help their business. And, I've been very passionate about that. I mean, I look at it that I've got 3 jobs. Mm-hmm. I've got my normal day job, I've got my car owner job, and I've got my promoting job for
your race team.
For my race team.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize how much work goes into that.
So other than Stan Mertz himself, who are the sponsors that get your car to the track every week? Who are people you couldn't do this without?
Well, I'll tell you, we just, I'm extremely happy. Right now, Koopman Lumber, they came on board last year. They are an incredible lumber and building materials, multi-unit lumberyard. And they've come on board and re-up today.
Couldn't have been better timing.
And I'll tell you, they love the idea of us going wheel and tour racing.
Yeah.
It's the exposure that's just unprecedented.
It really is. And you talked about part of it was the streaming. You and I had that conversation.
It's all about social media now and everything that we're doing. I used to do all that stuff myself. Updating the Facebook and all those different things. But I brought Kyle Souza. He came on board as doing all of our promotion and publicity. And he's just knocked it out of the park. And the sponsors have all reacted to that. They see that they're out there. Pomfret Wine and Spirits has been with me, since we come on board with tour type racing. We've got guys that are JW Home Improvement, J&S Motors right out of Whitensville that I in the town that I live in. They're just Cape Cod Towing, Black and White Grill out of Spencer, Mass. They've been with me for many, many years. And what was great about this year when I told them my plans and that I was going to be done at the end of the season, they were like, we want to be on board with you. We want to finish out with you. And I mean, it's just that important that we have all those sponsors that are supporting us.
And how about you, Matt? So we've got this beer, which by the way is very good.
Yep.
Yes, it is very
really,
good.
really good beer from Post and Beam Brewing.
Goes too quick though.
We can always reload here. There's no one's touched this over here. So how important has it been for you guys with J&M and Post and Beam coming on for you to be able to take that next step from NHSTRA and open racing up to the modified tour?
If it wasn't for them, we'd still be running that 2000 Troyer and running that Monadnock.
As opposed to a 23 LFR.
19, but
19,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah. we wouldn't be able to do it. I mean, my dad had no intentions of ever tour racing 6 years ago, and I don't think he ever would have thought 5 years ago to be a car owner on the Wheel and Modified Tour. It's just something that we never even thought about. And
It's a bucket list thing, isn't it?
It just happened, yeah. I mean, yeah, it just happened, and I wouldn't be able to do it without the sponsors. You know, J&M came on board this year. Post and Beam Brewing, we are going to have a another benefit there of giving away prizes and stuff. And my aunt,
I think what
Pudiak-
he's trying to tell us is we can't drink that.
No, you definitely can.
We can.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Good.
My aunt, Pudiak Wealth Management, they're out of Keene. And Edmunds Ace Hardware, they've been with me for years. I mean, since 2013, they helped my dad for years since, he started in Pro Stocks. Tyler Small Engine, they're in Antrim too. My aunt's other business, Trends of Fashion, she's been helping me out for years. I mean, a lot of it's family. A lot of it's just a lot of people I know and just people that they see me. A lot of them love going to the racetrack. Chucky's Fight, it's called Knockout Substance Abuse. You know, I could talk all day about them, but you guys should definitely check out their website. Yeah, we also got the American Legion. Also, we will have a cornhole tournament there, and you know that's another fundraiser. So
You've done something different that I haven't seen done up until, now people are catching on. You do these fundraisers. You've been doing them for a couple of years.
Yep.
And it was something that when I first heard of, I was like, that's different. And then you see how effective it is that people get up close with you and hang out with you guys and come out. So I actually have something else I want to give away. I got this really kick-ass JDV Experience hat. So there's a story here I want to hear. But in order for us to hear it, you guys, the first person to tell me how old Matthew Kimball was when he first got stopped by a police officer on a main road. The first person to give me how old Matt was, then we get to hear the story and you get this JDV hat.
Is this going to end up on your true crime show?
Possibly. I don't know. I literally have a punch list of things that maybe to bring up over here. I don't know the story at all. We have some people close. So real quick, Stan, you're done after this year, you said. So
done.
Are you done as a car owner, or are you washing your hands with racing in general? Are you still going to be involved in some fashion?
I will. My wife and I have talked about it. I'm going to basically sell everything at the end of the season, but I haven't lost the love of racing. I mean, that's the thing. I'll probably take a little bit of money out of my pocket, go help some teams.
We have a winner. So now we're going to go, so just people can stop. Now, so I'm being told to not do that one. So, all right, now we have another winner, Justin Cousineau won. So, all right, so back to Stan. We're going to hear the story after.
No, and it's one where I'll probably take do like I do. I mean, you see a lot of guys that are, hey, I'm doing this for this team, doing that for this team. I've done that for years with a lot of the little guys. Carl Fredrickson and I are really good friends. And every time that I see him, I stick $100 bill in his pocket and say, put this towards subscriptions for any veteran.
That's awesome.
So basically, any veteran that has been, that he comes up to that wants a subscription or something, Stan Mertz Racing has paid for it I think I've been doing it now for about 5 or 6 years.
That's awesome.
So that's something that I love to hear, because the giving back to the veterans, I think, is something that needs to be a little more in short track racing. And it's good to see you doing that. Yeah.
I mean, I support the veterans extremely. And my son was in Special Forces, and I'm very passionate about that. But, I'll probably just go have fun. I want to have fun. That's the thing. I've been so passionate. And, as a driver, I was passionate. As a car owner, I was passionate.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
He can say that, sometimes over the top passionate. But it's one where, I did a lot of thinking this season. that passion, sometimes it comes up from, as you're getting a lot of that sponsorship and the pressure of running up front every time, being a team that can go there and you're going there to win. We weren't going there to finish second or third.
Right.
We were going there to win, and we had the car to be able to do that and the driver to be able to do that. A lot of pressure, and, unfortunately, I've lost a really good friend and supporter this past year that basically said, look, you're not making it fun anymore for me. And, that really kind of woke me up a bit. And I said, I've got to go back to having fun. So, I got to give Matt some credit. I saw what he did, last year, running the tour and everything. And, Josh knocked it out of the park with that whole Granite State Cup. And that was really what put me over the edge of saying, you know what, it's time for me to hit my bucket list. And the bucket list for, I think, any car owner would be being a Whelen Tour car owner. I mean, that's on the top of my bucket list. Guess what? I've been able to scratch that one off.
That's awesome. All right, Matt, so I need to know, how did you get pulled over at 12 years old?
Well, to be fair, it's so in our hometown, there's a thing called Home and Harvest, and so I was 12 years old. I had my Young Guns car. We had my dad's modified on an open trailer, and we were doing a parade for our sponsor, Edmunds Ace Hardware, at the time. And so I was driving the car behind the trailer, but where our race trailer was to load the car back up after the parade was actually down the road. I had to go down Main Street, take a right onto Concord Street. So it was about 2 miles or so from where I was, and I passed the gas station, and the cop had the blue lights behind me. And I pulled over, and I had to explain to him that I was in the parade, and I'm just going to the trailer. And I was 12 years old. I was by myself. I didn't have my parents near me or anything. And then he let me go. I was surprised, really. And we had to go about another half mile, and then we loaded up at Tyler Small Engine. So I guess that was the first time, really.
I love this. So we have somebody in chat that says, don't gloss over this new car. We want to hear more about it. Do you have any more specifics you can give us?
I mean, right now, it's getting wrapped right now at Bill Phillips Design. And, we will have pictures, hopefully by Thursday or Friday.
Well, people want to know where we've seen this before. They kind of like the race car lineage. Whose car was it? Where did it race?
So, I've heard a bunch of different stories, I heard it was...
Matthew Kimball is very cagey with information.
Yeah.
I wonder, you get it right from your brother.
I almost interjected with the question and said, look, I've been around racing long enough. You're never going to get the information.
Yeah, so I heard it
Let's
was...
see, it's 2019.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me see.
So from 4 years now, it's probably been tossed around, but it was Orion Lutz. They built it. Then it went to Jeff Goodale, and then it went to Sean Monahan, and then we purchased it from Sean Monahan.
So this is a pretty stout piece here is what you're telling us.
It's very nice.
Now, I have a bunch of questions just for you guys individually here. Out of all your wins, Matt, what one means the most to you? What one do you still just say, like, this is unbelievable?
Probably the mini stock win at Loudon. I was very patient. We were having oil pressure issues, and then the caution came out, and that's when, I could finally just cool down, and we ended up, passing the guy with 10 laps to go, and then we just never looked back, really, and just, it wasn't even that, it was just winning at Loudon, and then pulling into victory lane, and just that whole, just being there. And not only being there, but winning there, that was probably the best feeling I've had.
Did you get out on the, so Loudon's a huge track. I remember the first time I went there to work it. You walk in through the tunnels and you come in and you're like, wow, this place is big.
Yep.
Did you get out on the track and go, oh boy? You had to have some of that.
You would think so, but with it just being so long and so wide, it feels like when you're racing at Monadnock on the quarter mile, you're letting the car drift up off two, getting close to that wall. It feels like you're going faster at Monadnock than you are at Loudon. It sounds crazy, but I'm serious. Like,
I hear a lot of people, so you see comments that people running at Monadnock is difficult. So I've heard somebody say, once I figured out that Kimball line,
Yeah, well, they took
I
it
picked
away,
up a
but
lot. So how did you first discover that line? How did you dare to go down there?
my dad, I mean, there was this white patch, and he's like, put your left one right there, and it sucks you through the whole corner no matter how tight you are. And basically, I did it once, and I never ever ran a different line. Pat Node ran a different line, and I've tried running that line because he was always had a little bit more than us, and I could just never do it. And I mean, it works great. It works good when the promoters of some series are telling you not to run it. So
I see here that you have raced at 16 total tracks, not including go-karts. What is your favorite?
well, I've been running at Monadnock for 10 years, so let's say I can't choose that one, right?
You can choose any one you want.
I'm probably gonna have to. I've only run Thompson once in a modified, and that was the most fun I've ever had. So let's go.
What was your finish there?
I don't even know. It was that MRS race. Yeah, we finished right behind Pit Cat.
That's awesome.
We had a pretty small motor there, but hopefully this year the spec motor will be on a level playing field. If we go there, it's not on the schedule, but if we do go there, then hopefully we can get a little better run.
So, Josh, you've promoted a ton of races. What has been your favorite race you've ever promoted?
Wow. I think at Thompson, I would have told you my favorite race was the World Series. There was something about the implications of that event that were always really cool because it was the Tour Championship event. There was the kind of jigsaw puzzle of figuring out how to get 400 plus cars in to that property and making everything go off pretty seamlessly. Now I would say I look at every event with the same level of anticipation, and I think every event is different. And for me, I run a lot of my events for the fans. I mean, I really do. I want it to be exciting. And when I watch the final pace lap and the people come to their feet and they're waving their hats and their hands and they're saluting the best asphalt modified drivers in the country, makes me want to come back next time.
All right, so here's something that's kind of shoe on the other foot. We all strive for excellence. You more than most, but you get it most of the time. What was the thing that you've had happen that was absolutely horrific at the time that you look back on and go, I can't believe that happened, but we overcame it?
Oh, that's an easy one.
And it's not meeting me.
No, I mean, that was...
I want to dig into this history between you guys so much more.
That was traumatic in and of itself, but I mean, we were able to navigate that and get through it eventually. It did take 5 years, but we got through it. I think it was, when they tell you you're going to run a racetrack, you think of all the cool things that can happen. What you don't think about is the bad things that can happen, at least when you start. Through my career now, I've realized that you do need to prepare for those things. And we had an incident where a particular driver tapped the wall driver's side in the center of 3 and 4. This was my first event as the general manager. And it looked like a very benign hit. But almost immediately, we were told that we were going to need to extricate the driver. And we needed the tool truck and the whole 9 yards. And that was a very sobering moment. The driver ended up being fine, but they were flown out of the racetrack.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I was in the infield.
It was really sobering. And what happened as a result of that was, 5 years of labor and saying, if we ever have to fly somebody out of here again, what's our emergency action plan look like? And we got a lot of people involved, from security, track services, fire suppression, medical, the whole 9 yards. And we had to extricate a driver during my final event at Thompson. And it took 8 minutes. And the driver didn't have to be flown out, but they were, it was a textbook job. And there were people there who have done that at the cup level that said, that's as good as it gets. So I'd say, yeah, that's probably it. But I think, Mark, the reason we execute the way we do is because we don't leave anything to chance. Nothing.
That's the way to be. So we're running up against the clock here. what's the best win you've ever had at as a car owner? I know the one that's got the most play on social media, which was a twisted T win. But
I'll tell you, that was probably the best win that I've had. That was the very first time that I went to Stafford as a car owner for a big mod. We went there, and nobody expected us to even compete there. I mean, everybody just, we're the little guy that could. And when we came there, everything went perfectly. And we won the Twisted T80 at Stafford Speedway. That ranks up there probably more than like winning the
championship.
SK championship.
now I need to know real quick, how can people reach out to you on social media? How can people get your merch? Where do people go to get this stuff?
StanMertzRacing.com. We're in the middle of, we've sold out of all the old 2021 Woody Pitcat stuff. The Matt Galco stuff is all gone. We're going to be having brand new merch this year. Go to StanMertzRacing.com. You can always reach out to me at on Facebook under Stan Mertz.
Car going to look the same this year?
We're actually talking about, I love the paint scheme. 32 signs knocked it out of the park with that we had last year. So that
was a good looking car.
I'd let him know we're going to keep the same paint scheme. Some of the sponsors are going to be different, but we're going to keep that same paint scheme. And the fact that we're going to be able to keep the 6.
Even better.
The 6 in the Whelen Tour is iconic.
Yeah.
And, when I was talking with Jimmy Wilson, I'm like, I've had that for about 14 years. And, I know it's an iconic number. And they came back and said, yeah, you can run the 6.
Now, Josh, where do you go to get your stuff? Because we all have these awesome koozies over here. There's shirts, there's hats. Where can people get this stuff at?
You can go to jdvproductions.com. That's the easiest place to get it. But we're very active on our social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. So you can get in touch with us at any of those places as well.
All right, so now just so people aren't left alone, we gave away a Kimball shirt. I mean, there's more, right? You guys sell these? How do people get a hold of one of these Kimball shirts?
So you can direct message me or my brother David Elliott, or you can message my mom Teresa Kimball, or even better, you can message our page at Kimball Motorsports. We have shirts, sweatshirts, basically everything. You guys just private messages, let us know what you need.
So give a shout out to your beer again, your brewery, because I tell you, Stan has been attacking these things since these things have been come out.
It really is. I mean, excellent. Really good.
Yeah,
So-
it's Post and Bean Brewing in Peterborough, 40 Grove Street.
How far is this from Monadnock Speedway if I just needed to make a trip there, or Claremont?
It's
on the
about
way
probably
over
40 minutes.
there? Okay.
Did they
From
deliver?
Claremont, no, but I can at the
Maybe
racetrack.
if you get your way to Victory Lane, you just might earn some.
They could stock it at Monadnock if you want them to.
Okay.
So in closing, anything that you want to, any three of you want to relay out to the general public, the fans?
I just want to say thanks to Matt and Stan for coming on.
course.
These are the stories literally that keep us going at JDV.
Dan, I would love to have you come back on and get Josh back on again and Matt back on again. And I think we should do this maybe mid-season and do a checkup.
Well, we got to check the Granite State Cup points. If me and Stan are close, I don't know,
Yeah, you might have to separate you guys.
Yeah.
In closing, one of the things that I want to say, I got to be so thankful that you three came on. Also, I'm a guy who loves trophies, so we cannot let this go unnoticed. JDB trophies were some of the coolest trophies I've ever seen. There's one that the Monadnock one, that is the Bulldog, is probably my favorite trophy I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, how did you come up with this stuff?
I take no credit. Taylor Pelletier, who is the chief of staff, does all that stuff, and she has done it since we worked together at Thompson. And I will probably agree with you that that might be my favorite trophy. I always loved when we did the World Series jerseys and bats as well at Thompson. I thought those were really cool. But yeah, the dogs are sweet, and she's got some other stuff up her sleeve, which I usually don't find out until we get to the racetrack. I have that level of confidence in her. I mean, but when you can show up with a
amazing.
Bulldog, I mean, as a trophy, you really don't have to check up on that person.
When I saw these trophies get unloaded and I saw the wheel and drivers kind of like, you could see them nudging. They're like, these things are awesome. They truly not only wanted to win that race, they all wanted those trophies.
They did. And, we've had a lot of people who would call Critical Science afterwards and ask to have trophies made up for like sponsors or, somebody else wanted to have one. The amount of people who reached out to me that I didn't even know that wanted those dog trophies was incredible. But yeah, I'll be cheering for both of you guys. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about being a promoter and having nothing to do with competition is I'll be cheering for you guys. You're the backbone of the Wheeling.
I'm being told that if Matt sells out of all of his shirts, they have brand new ones that they're going to unveil. Do you want to elaborate a little bit more? Is there a new design or?
Well, we have a new car, so we'll probably get some Wheel Modified tour shirts. The design is a little bit different. Like I said, we'll release it at the end of the week. It's stars and stripes, of course.
I like how you ice
43.
him. He tries every time and you ice him.
I know he's a pro. So I got to know, Matt, as somebody you're up and coming in the sport, and I know we're past time, but I have to know.
It's okay. You're the producer.
What did it feel like at Claremont to go wheel to wheel with big money and finish second? Like, that's got to be a bucket list item as well?
Yeah. He kicked my butt. We still got second, which was awesome. We beat some really big names like Les Hinckley. There's a bunch of guys there. I think Nacella was there, Lutz was there, Pitcat was there.
Last year?
But
2 years ago. Yeah, we were there.
I would have really liked a chance at Monadnock. We qualified second to Bonsignor started on the pole. Hirschman was third, and then there was this random kid that was second. And, it stinks. We blew a power steering line on lap 2. We put that car together in 2 weeks. A lot of people, I was looking at Facebook, a lot of them getting set up for LFR, and ours was still almost bare chassis. And I was like, boy, we are getting ourselves in a dogfight here. And next thing you know, we're second quick in practice, and we started outside pole. And that was probably the most heartbreaking race I've ever had, to be on, just start up front to show speed. And like you said, to have all the fans behind you like that. Mm-hmm. And then to only last we pulled in at lap 30, but we blew the power steering hose on lap 2. That was the most heartbreaking moment I ever had.
Well, you can leave that in 2022. You can redeem yourself on May 6th.
This is the redemption tour. Matthew Kimball for the Granite State Cup here. Here we go. Shout out to the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour fan page as well. I follow that as well. They're in the chat as well. Stan, thanks so much for making the trip up. Josh, Matt, this has been probably one of the more fun shows that I had. And I seriously, I want to get all three of you back on and do a mid-season checkup, because I think maybe a little bit more in the future, we'll get some more fun Stan stories. So I'm excited to hear some of these.
I'm sure we'll have some Stan and Josh interactions.
Probably have some new ones.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Well, material.
JDV Productions, you got the Open JDV races. We have the NASCAR Wheel and Modified events up here. Josh, thank you for everything that you're doing for keeping modified racing in New England as good as it is, and I'm looking forward to the future. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank
Our
you.
pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Guys, we'll see you on the next one. Make sure you share the show because you get a chance to win some cool Kimball swag. Have a good one.
Good night.